Shalom, shalom, Most High Christ, bless. Happy Sabbath, everybody. We made it to another Sabbath. Oh, yeah, mute that joint, man. All praises to the Most High. No, yo,
that ain't me. That ain't me. I think so. It's, oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't.
Happy Sabbath, Most High Christ, bless everybody. We made it to another Sabbath. We still here. This is a great time to be alive and on the earth, to watch and witness the things that's going on that the Lord has set forth. It is all kinds of chaos, and things are getting worse and worse.
Right.
The Lord is revealing so much. When you don't follow his ways, the laws that he set forth, the end result is what you have today. Complete chaos and wickedness everywhere. People are starting to see This place that we live in is the worst damn place on earth in the history of mankind.
Right.
This is, like I say in Revelation, this is ancient Rome. They exercise all the things that ancient Rome did.
Everything. Every foul thing, too.
Yep. Every foul thing.
Every foul thing.
Matter of fact, instead of opening with the scriptures we usually open with, let's go to Revelation 18.
Mm.
And we're going to deal with some foul spirits today, speaking of which. Tonight's topic is the Pharisees, Sadducees, and today's Rabbis. Revelation 18 and verse 3.
Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad. Man.
Right.
The book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen.
Hold on. Babylon the Great is fallen. Go ahead.
Is fallen.
Now, why I say it twice? Because it's the second one. This is the second Babylon. People don't understand. When we bring out prophecies, we go to the prophets and bring out prophecies, and there's things that have not occurred yet that's written. And they'll say, oh, that already happened. Well, that's why the what do you call it? Not the prophet. Solomon. What was Solomon called? Yeah, he was called the prophet.
Yeah, King Solomon.
Yeah. Yeah, he said the thing that have been is that which shall be.
Right.
They don't understand these things that are happening have happened before. It just keep recycling.
Okay.
The same spirits leave the earth and then they come back to the earth and they do the same thing they did before. You getting a chance to repent. They're going to do the same things that they did before. So this place, all of the kingdoms that was before it, this place has learned from them and taken all those things and rolled them into one. And got their foot on your necks in this place. Go ahead.
Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils.
The habitation of devils. The people that's ruling this place, the people that's up in the upper echelons, they're devils. They're tricking you into believing that the way that they're living is good, and it's not. It's destroying everybody and everything. Everything that these people touch, it turns to crap. I wanted to say something else, but it turns to crap. Right. All you got to do, I know in my lifetime, Iran. They was fooling with Iran when I was a little kid.
Yep, I remember that.
Then Vietnam. Then after that, then you had they went into South America, destroying them. Everywhere they touch, it's destroyed.
Then they had this thing, the Cold War?
Yeah, that was going on since 1950.
Oh.
But then you had Desert Storm.
Right. Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
Yeah.
Right.
So they went into Kuwait. Then they went into Iraq.
That was what? During the Clinton administration? Or just before the Clinton administration?
Yeah, the Kuwait and
started with
Iraq.
Bush first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first Bush.
Then they had Desert Storm. Then after Desert Storm, then they go into Iraq. After Iraq, Libya.
Gaddafi.
Yep. Then Iraq is destroyed.
Damn.
Then Afghanistan for 20 years. Everything they touch is destroyed. Understand that. This place, Babylon the Great, this is where Satan dwelleth.
Right. Right.
The habitation of devils. Go ahead.
And the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Right. Every unclean and hateful spirit, they're all here, ruling over everywhere else. Their symbol is the eagle. They sit up high and look down on everybody else, controlling everybody.
Right. The great vulture.
Yeah, and our people can't figure that out. siding with these people. Finish that out.
Verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
They think because she dropped them bombs that the Lord is with them. Right. So everybody follows them.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacy.
This shows you how much they control stuff. Mm-hmm. So Russia has power with their oil and natural gas. Mm-hmm. But the EU decides that they're going to put a price cap on what Russia can charge.
How you going to do that with something that belongs to them?
Yeah, it belongs to them.
Yeah. Man, the nerve, bro.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Right. Come out of her, my people. Go ahead.
That ye be not partakers of her sins.
That's it. That's how we escape, by not partaking in the sins of this place.
Right.
And we right in the midst of when they do all their little, have all their little holidays. Their wicked holidays. We right in the midst of that. Don't participate in that stuff.
Right.
Go ahead.
And that ye receive not of her plagues.
So if you don't partake in her sins, you won't partake in the plagues that's falling on this place. Mm-hmm. Look at all the people dying. Because remember now, we said we weren't going to take the shot.
Right.
Everybody got sick.
Right.
If you survived it, you good.
All praises.
But them people that took them shots, a lot of them dying from heart attacks now.
Right. A lot of consequences and repercussions.
Right.
Matter
People
of fact,
can't get pregnant.
Right.
It's all kinds of, it's a whole list of things that happen because of people taking them shots.
Right.
Crazy.
Shouldn't have done it. Verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities.
Right. So you can drop that. This place is going down, and you're watching it go down in flames. Like that Jan said, this place got to go down with violence. All right, so the topic is the Pharisees, Sadducees, and today's rabbis. So what we're going to do, we're going to go back during the time of Christ and show you the spirit, because I like to deal with the spirit.
Just like Christ.
Yeah, the spirit of these Pharisees. Put that picture back up there again of those Talmudic rabbis. Yeah, look at them. So what we're doing, we're going to show you the spirit on our brothers, the Pharisees, Sadducees, the chief priests and them, the spirit that was on them, and then they taught that to these people right here. Because what these people be doing don't make no sense, but we're going to touch on that. Now, let's go to the first, there's a post in this group. Put that up there. Yes, sir. So this is Jacob Israel. So we're in this group, and it's, you see it is Jews versus Hebrew Israelites. So he puts up this post from Wikipedia about hand washing in Judaism, saying that this proves that they're the real Jews.
Good God.
Oh, man, you can't make this stuff up. So, that's the basis of what we're getting into, to show how, the foolishness of this, but not just the foolishness of it, but the Pharisees, showing the spirit that the Pharisees in them was in. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to open up with Matthew. First scripture is Matthew. So you have, everybody knows what we're going to get into like next week with the Feast of Dedication, is the Maccabees. So at the end of the Maccabees, the son John Hyrcanus, he defeats the Idumeans and tells them that if they're going to stay in the land, they have to keep commandments. So they became converts. This is the first time you have Jewish people, white people that are claiming to be Jews. That's where it started. And out of this, out of John Hyrcanus and the Hasmonean dynasty, this is when the Pharisees pop up and the Sadducees pop up. And you had the chief priests, because John Hyrcanus and them, they were Levites. They were of the priesthood.
Okay.
So your Sadducees come out of them. But we're going to get into that. First, let's go into these Pharisees and show you what type of spirit that they were dealing in. Matthew chapter 3. We'll try not to be too long. Try not. I think I want start at verse 1. Matthew chapter 3 and verse 1.
All right. The book of St. Matthew, chapter 3 and verse 1. In those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness of Judea.
Yeah, according to the prophecy. Mm-hmm. He was going to prepare the way for the Lord. Yep. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Now, if you got priests, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, why John got to say, repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand?
Because it's obvious someone has the actual truth and someone else has a version of it.
Right. Excellent. Go ahead. Verse 3.
Verse 3. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make his paths straight.
Now, you can read this in Isaiah chapter 40. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair, and a leather girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey.
You see, I'm laughing because we had a conversation the other day. Whatever your spirit likes, when it come back to the earth, it still likes the same things.
Right. So if you like to dress dapper down in this lifetime, more than likely you'll do it in the next one.
Right. Because when John was Elijah, he liked the same thing.
Yep. Verse 5. Then went out to him Jerusalem and all Judea and all the region round about Jordan, and were baptized of him in Jordan, confessing their sins.
Right, so they're being baptized. He's a Levite. He's washing them. Go ahead.
Verse 7. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism.
Hold on. Why are they there?
You know, Israel. We knows.
Why the Pharisees and Sadducees, though? What spirit is on them that they going out there? Now, the Pharisees, like Paul said, let's hit it. Let's hit it real quick. Philippians 3 and 5. This is what I'm getting at. What spirit is on them to go out to where John is and he's baptizing the people?
Think they want to get baptized?
Oh, no.
Maybe they seek to do something.
Give me verse 5.
Give me a sec. It's been a while since I've been there.
262?
Since I've been to Philippi. Said 262. Okay, got you. You said
verse 5. Philippians 3 and 5.
Got you. The book of Philippians, chapter 3 and verse 5. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law of Pharisee.
A Pharisee. So there's another place where Paul said the Pharisees is the strictest sect. So why, if they the strictest sect, they the ones, they doing the teaching and all that stuff, why are they out there at John doing baptisms? Go back to Matthew.
Okay.
Why are they there? And to understand the spirit that's on them. Verse 7.
The book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 7. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who hath warned you to flee from the wrath to come?
Damn.
Good God.
Right. Right.
Good God.
He called them vipers.
Right.
So understand what spirit is on them. They not walking in the spirit that they supposed to be walking in.
Right.
You're going to see that. It's, as I was looking through all of this stuff, it's too much stuff to even, I just brought out things that I thought should be brought out. It's just all over the place. The scribes and the Pharisees and the chief priests.
Yeah, their foundation is crap. It's not of Christ at all.
Right. They're not listening. They ain't even want to hear Christ. All they wanted to do was find fault with him and put him to death. What spirit is on you to do that?
Spirit of Satan.
Yep, exactly. Read verse 8.
Verse 8. Bring forth, therefore, fruits, meet for repentance. Verse 9.
Hold on.
Okay.
Read verse 10. And understand why this stuff is being said. You're going to find out these people are wicked. They're not following the commandments.
Right.
They're not following thus saith the Lord. Over time, they have come up with their own things that they're pushing. They're not pushing thus saith the Lord. Verse 10.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 3 and verse 10. And now also the axe is laid unto the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire.
Now John's saying this, but even Christ says it later. Speaking of which, jump down to verse 16.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 3 and verse 16. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove, and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased.
So to make a long story short, they're there watching Christ. They know who Christ come from. They know he's from the house of David. So they watching him. That's why they're there. Now, let's go to Matthew chapter 5. So they have evil spirits on them. They want to do something to Christ. They got hatred. They got hatred for Christ. Chapter 5 and verse, start at 10.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
So you're going to see that all through the scriptures, Christ is taking shots at them, the spirit that they are in. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Was Christ persecuted for the evil that he did?
Not at all.
No.
He was therefore perfect.
Right.
As our Father in heaven is perfect. But you know what, though? You think about it, because, Christ obviously could read minds.
Right.
So they were taking shots at him the whole time. So he just did what they were doing in secret. He brought it out.
And he was crushing them too.
Yeah.
He was crushing them.
Yeah, they had secret hatred for this man.
They supposed to be, because it's the same today. You can look at it in either aspect, because like me battling Christians and battling Jewish people, I see it's like they both have an evil spirit on them.
Right.
Like we're in between. We believe the law, the prophets, and the New Testament.
Right.
The Christians don't want to hear the Old Testament. The Jewish people and even our brothers that's following in that madness, they don't want to hear the New Testament. Yeah, they're completely against it. They're completely against Christ. When Christ is exposing them for who and what they really are.
Right.
The spirit that's in them.
Right.
The spirit that's dwelling in them. They supposed to be the teachers of the law. They're not teaching that. They teaching traditions of men, things that they have added to the law. That's the crazy part. Matter of fact, before we go any further, let's go to Deuteronomy 4 real quick.
Okay.
Their special is supposed to be the Old Testament, but when you're talking to them, you find out it's a whole lot in the Old Testament they don't understand. They don't even know it's there, but they can tell you what's in the Talmud. The Talmud ain't of the Lord at all. Verse 2.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4 and verse 2. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you.
Right, we're supposed to keep the commandments that the Lord gave. We're going to show you they added to that, and they was pushing that. That's why we have to deal with the spirit. So when you see them say something, you'll be like, oh, I see what Christ means. That don't come out the law. Back to Matthew. Matthew 5, and you was at 10. Read 10 again.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Right, go ahead.
Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake.
Didn't they do that to Christ?
Man, they do that to us right now.
Yeah, they
too.
do that. Yes, sir, they do. Now, I didn't tell y'all this earlier, but so I was in that group, and Edomite said something about people keep talking about skin color in here, and that sounds racist. And I said, well, everybody started out being black or having dark skin.
Right.
So it's not about color. It's about the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in that order. This brother comes flying in calling me racist.
It's impossible for us to be racist, first of all. Because usually the racists are the ones who are in the ruling class.
Right.
That's the racist.
So look, the brother told me, the brother now that follows them, he's following his oppressor. He told me that I was the only one oppressing him. How am I oppressing you? I don't have the ability to oppress you.
When he donned his cape, he actually was oppressing you. He went to go save our enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
And then you got the Christians the same way. They're saying, both sides are saying we're racist. The brother even told me I should be proud of my African heritage and not try to steal somebody else's identity. The nerve, bro. The nerve.
He don't even know.
That's crazy. I just stopped responding. I stopped responding. Like I gotta take a break from that because on both sides they was vexing me so bad that I just. That was this morning. I was like, I'm not even going on Facebook today. That's how bad it is. It's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
We're gonna be hated. We're gonna be hated for the truth's sake, for righteousness' sake.
It's the only way to go out, man.
You gonna say something?
It's just interesting that we racist because our God isn't all inclusive, but yet other people who have their own gods, like Indians and Asians, they're not racist because their God isn't all inclusive.
Right.
It's only when you're dealing with the God of Israel.
That's
right.
Right. Only when you're dealing with the God of Israel.
That's why they don't want you to know that you're an Israelite, because it directly connects you to the power, period.
You know what? It goes back to what I've been saying for a long time. You have Ishmael that wants the covenant, and you got Esau that wants the covenant.
Right.
But it belongs to us. So they're the main ones that want to fight you.
Right.
Especially Esau. He's going to be crying.
Right.
All that stuff you see about him in his infancy, their father, all those traits is still on them. All right, where were we? Yeah, you read 11. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go to 12.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 12. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so persecuted they the prophets which were before you.
Right. All we're doing is showing you what the Bible says.
Right.
And why it's saying it. And I'm saying, look, there's going to be a ruling class in the kingdom, and that is going to be the Israelites ruling with the Father and Christ, and show it to you verbatim in Daniel. And then you call me a racist.
Like, it's going back to the way it was supposed to be in the beginning,
Right.
period.
They don't want that.
That's all that is. Why you think that question was asked by the disciples in Acts 1? Is the kingdom coming back to Israel?
Go
Because
to
it's
it.
supposed to be there.
Go to it. Acts 1, I think it's verse 9. No, not 9. 6.
The book of Acts, chapter 1 and verse 6. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel?
Right. Will you restore the kingdom to Israel?
Yeah.
And you read in Daniel, it should not be given to other people.
Right.
So what's the problem? We're not saying that the Lord going to destroy every damn body except the Israelites.
No.
We're saying the Israelites going to be in rulership. It was our job from the beginning. We were called sons of God. Right. That's what we're saying.
Right.
But no, we're racist because we're supposed to be the ruling class. How are we racist?
Right.
The Lord said he going to do that. He going to give us that power. How was that racist? Revelation 3. Revelation 3. Matter of fact, give me 2 and 26 first.
The book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
Right, power over the nations. Go ahead.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my father.
So even as I received of my father. So that means the Israelite men that overcome and make it to the kingdom, they will have that power with Christ. Like it says in Romans, joint heirs.
Right.
So now chapter 3 and verse, give me verse 5.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 5. He that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, and I will not blot out his name out of the book of life.
And only Israel is written in that book of life. The first time you read about it is in Exodus when we at the mountain.
But
Finish.
I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels.
Now verse 12.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 12. Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my God. And I will write upon him my new name.
Right. Israel that overcomes. Now give me verse 21.
The book of Revelation, chapter 3 and verse 21. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne.
That's joint heirs and rulership. Daniel 7 and 27. It's rulership for Israel. Remember when we were on Virginia Beach and you had the Edomite come up? He's like a preacher or something. And he came, he was like, okay, man, what shall I do? And I said, man, just treat my people with respect.
That's it. That's all he can do.
And he said, okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't understand anybody calling me racist.
Because he knows, he was a pastor, so he knows and understands the scriptures.
Right.
He knows and understands what his people did to our people.
Which ain't crazy.
From the beginning.
7 and 27, yeah.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 27. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High.
So we're going to be ruling. There's a hierarchy. The Father, the Son, and then Israel going to be ruling.
They can't, well, I ain't going to say they can't fathom. They don't want to fathom that.
Yeah, they don't want that.
Because they see how we are living now. And I don't know if they assume that we don't deserve this greatness. And that's going to be bestowed upon us, Lord's will. I guess they just don't want that.
It's just the evil in them.
But they just know they're not going to be a ruling class over us anymore.
Yeah.
They're not going to like that.
But to have peace, if we're restored to our rightful place, it will be peace on earth. They don't want that.
But they got hell to pay first.
Yeah.
That's the part they don't want. They know what they did to us. They was like, damn. And they going to get it back double?
But listen, you know, Esau has his own judgment. The other nations, their punishment's going to have an end.
Right. Right. Esau.
As long as you ain't Esau.
Esau, he's the son of perdition.
Yeah.
He's done.
Go ahead. Finish that out.
Whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him.
Right. Everybody's going to be underneath the Father, Christ, and Israel. We all, whatever the Father say to do, we're going to enforce it.
Better believe him.
Matthew 5 and verse 19. Let's get back on these Pharisees. So our brothers, over time, they have interpreted the scriptures the way that they saw fit.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 19. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven.
Right. Keep in mind, they have their own ideas. They're not pushing the law the way they're supposed to push it. They're pushing their own doctrines, their own traditions that they have come up with over time. Go ahead.
Verse 20. For I say unto you that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
So you got to do better than they doing.
Right.
But you're going to, constant theme you're going to see is hypocrite, hypocrite, hypocrite.
Y'all notice Brother Jacob says then they're doing. That means their spirit is still on this earth right now. They're just not called scribes and Pharisees anymore. They're called today your pastors in your local Sunday churches. That spirit is still here on this earth. And boy, they still doing the same thing.
Perverting the word of God.
I mean, verbatim.
Chapter 6 and verse 1.
The book of St.
Man, Christ is, I'm telling you, he, in prison, they sneak up on you and shank you and break that jank off in you. Christ is continually doing the Pharisees like that. Watch.
No, you saying Undisputed?
No.
You never seen that? Well, Ving Rhames, the Ving Rhames one. Ving Rhames was a world championship boxer who ended up going to prison. I guess they were trying to do that Mike Tyson thing. Yeah. Well, as he's in prison, is people trying to attach themselves to him or get him to join them.
Oh, okay.
Man was knocking people out as they came. This man was a world heavyweight champion boxer. Well, no, but he won't join in nobody. They was joining him. So imagine imagine that's Christ. And they told him follow me. He's like, nah, you follow me. Wham, knocking them out. Yeah, man, it's gonna be like that.
There ain't no gloves, bro. Matthew 6:1.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 1. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men, to be seen of them.
Now, why is he saying it like that?
Man, you know, Israel the same way, man. Israel,
But he taking shots at the Pharisees.
they love to shine in front of people.
There you go. Watch.
They want to be seen.
Yep, go ahead.
Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven.
Right, because the Father wants you to do it for him, because he wants you to be obedient, not to be seen by other people.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 2. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do.
Who are the hypocrites? Because you gonna see he keep calling the scribes and Pharisees hypocrites.
Right.
He going in on them all throughout the New Testament. Go ahead.
Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets.
In the synagogues and in the streets. Remember, well, we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
They do things to be seen of men.
Right.
Now, verse 5.
Okay. The book of St. Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 5. And when thou prayest, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are.
Go ahead.
For they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward.
Go ahead.
Verse 6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly.
Right.
That's beautiful right there.
Right.
Boy.
Right. Because it ain't about shining in front of people.
Right.
You ain't going to get nowhere with that. You got to please the Lord.
That's it. It's all about the Most High.
Seriously, when you think about this, y'all, the Lord created the earth and everything in it for his purpose. And everybody and everything has a purpose. He created everything with a purpose.
Right.
If you're an Israelite, your job is to be the rulers or to be the wife of the rulers, the children, so forth and so on. The Lord created you for a purpose. It's not for yourself.
Right.
You can enjoy life, but he created you for a purpose. And everything is supposed to work symbiotically. Everything's supposed to work together. But when you decide to do your own thing, now you're no longer serving the Lord. Understand that? You were created to serve him and do his purpose. We have a high calling.
Right.
And if you don't live up to that, you will be destroyed. You'll be finished. You will give all that up because you want to do your own thing. Go ahead.
Verse 7. But when ye pray.
Oh, no, not verse 7. 16.
Gotcha. The book of St. Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 16. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast.
See,
they try to show it. They showing.
Yeah. Oh man.
What's wrong with you? Fasting day, you know. Just trying to maintain.
It's supposed to be like when you offer that bread and that wine, they be like, nah, bro. Then you understand. Oh, okay, he fasting. You know what I mean? It's almost over too.
Verily I say unto you, they have their reward.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 17. But though, when thou fastest, anoint thine head and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast.
Because you know somebody might have coal in their eyes and a little ashiness on the corner of their lip to show that they fasting.
Yeah.
No, Christ said, man, wash your damn face.
Yeah, tighten
Don't
up.
appear to be fasting. That's between you and the Lord. Go,
Yeah, having eye boogers nasty anyway.
go ahead, man.
But unto thy Father which is in secret,
Right.
and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Verse-
See, so yeah, you good there.
Okay.
So you see what Christ is doing? He's telling you this stuff, but he pointing the finger at them and what they're doing, showing the spirit that they're in. They're not in the right spirit.
Oh, he calling them out. Just
Yeah,
land-
he
just
really he because when you look at the law is supposed to shine a light on your spirit, dividing the spirit from the flesh, showing you your flesh desires these things, but no, the spirit ain't supposed to give in to that.
Right.
So it separates them. So it makes it easy when you keep the commandments. It makes it easy to look at somebody and be like, "Oh, he's operating incorrectly when they do that right there." That's how you know. But hey, our brothers and sisters that's in Judaism and Christianity, they don't get it. They're against the law. You got one that claim they keep the laws, but they keeping something else, and then you got those that claim they in the spirit and they ain't doing none of it. They ain't doing nothing. John 7:1. We're gonna get into some scholarship shortly, but we showing you the spirit, man. Showing you the spirit that these people are in.
The book of St. John, chapter 7 and verse 1. After these things, Jesus walked into Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him.
Now, why would they be seeking to kill him?
They tired of Christ reading them. That's how they.
Crushing them too.
Yeah.
He crushing them.
Yeah.
They supposed to be the teachers of
Right.
the law,
Right.
and they getting crushed by Christ. And then, like you had said, we're not gonna go to it, but I had found that scripture we was talking about the other day when it said, "Never a man spake to me like this," and said this man he speak with authority,
With authority. Yup.
not like the Sadducees.
Yep.
Well, no, not like the scribes.
Yep.
He knew what he was talking about. He understood. He had a high understanding. Like it say in Isaiah, he was a quick understanding.
Yep.
Isaiah 11.
A quickening spirit.
Yep.
Go.
Verse.
And you know what? When you think about it, like when we first got into faith, we try to teach things to the best of our ability, but it was a lot of unsurety with it.
Because you don't know the intricate details.
Exactly. We weren't comfortable with it.
You want to make sure that you're doing the best job you can because you
Right.
don't want to mess up. That's why, like, you don't see, because people have to go, you have a starting point and then you got to work your way up in understanding. That's why, when we were younger in the truth, I know I used to be going at brothers, you wrong, you wrong, you wrong. Let them, like it's saying Peter, let them grow in grace. Have faith that the Lord going to get them straight. And everybody gonna see eye to eye one day. That's simple. Verse 2.
Verse 2. Now the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand.
Right, now jump to 13.
Verse 13. Howbeit, no man spake openly of him for fear of the Jews.
Right, so he went late, but he got to be perfect. He got to keep the commandments. So he went to tabernacles, even though he knew they were seeking to kill him. Go ahead.
Verse 14. Now about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught.
He went up into the temple and taught. Go ahead.
And the Jews marveled, saying, How knoweth this man letters, having never learned?
Right, so he didn't go to the
To the schools.
Virginia Union University theology
Right,
school.
there you go.
He didn't go to the Idumean school of rabbis in the Israeli territory.
Right.
He didn't do that.
Oh, they missed
He
out.
didn't go to the school of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He didn't do that.
Right.
He didn't do that. He went to the synagogues or he went to the temple. And he understood. He understood. See, they teaching their doctrines. Christ understood the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Like it said in Isaiah, precept upon precept. When they try to come at Christ, he always took them back to the commandments. They weren't doing that. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Jesus answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me.
Right. How this man know without ever learning letters? He went into school with us.
They better read John 1.
Right, yeah, and Christ like,
He is the word of God.
right, my doctrine is not mine. Go ahead.
Verse 17. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine.
Keep my commandments. That's the doctrine. Keep my commandments and live.
Whether it be of God or whether I speak of myself.
Right. Go ahead. See what? So of his doctrine is of God, not himself.
Right.
They got other doctrines, like washing their damn hands. We'll get into that shortly. Go ahead.
Verse 18. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory. But he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true. And no unrighteousness is in him.
Good God. I don't think y'all understand the gravity of that. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory.
Right.
That's them. But he that seeketh his glory that sent him, knowing that the Father sent Christ, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Because he doing it for the Lord.
Right.
Damn. Go ahead.
Remind me of when David danced for the Lord.
Yeah.
When David danced for the Lord, the lady tried to check him, and he was like, I did that. It wasn't for me. I did that for the Lord. Better stop playing, man.
Read verse 19.
Verse 19. Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me?
Why he keep taking shots at them like that? Now, he not saying exactly what laws they not keeping, but he keep throwing them shots out there and calling them hypocrites and stuff.
Right.
Now, how can you, because they're, hold on. I'm going to show you something that they're doing. Isaiah 29.
Okay.
Damn. Isaiah 29, start at verse 18. Man, the more you understand about this, when you read these prophecies, they're coming to pass in the New Testament. Now watch this.
Exactly.
Start at 18. Who you think this is talking about? Go ahead.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 18. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness.
What do you think that's talking about?
Good God.
Yeah, the deaf gonna hear.
Right.
That his sheep hearing him.
The blind are going to see.
And the blind gonna see. Go ahead.
Verse 19. The meek also shall increase their joy in the Lord, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel.
And that's him, the Holy One of Israel. Go ahead.
For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off.
Now, who was scorning him and watching him for iniquity?
The scribes and the Pharisees. Haters. They were straight haters.
Go. I mean, you can't deny it. It's undisputable.
The modern day pastors are doing this
Same
to
thing.
us now.
Same thing.
We going through the same thing, and it's going to get worse.
Keep going.
Tell them they delivered up Christ. What you think they're going to do to us? Verse 21. That make a man an offender for a word.
They watching your every word so that they can accuse you.
They're waiting for a slip up.
Yep.
And lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate.
Because they don't want that correction. They laying a snare for you. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. Go ahead.
and turn aside the just for a thing of naught.
Right. They don't, like it's saying Amos, they hate of him that rebuketh in the gate. They don't
Yep.
want that correction.
Yep.
Man. They want to live on the way that they've been living. Now back to John 7.
Y'all better recognize what they did to the prophets by the end. In his own city, too.
Damn.
Damn.
This is what, 13 and 9. Yeah, we finished it. 13 and 19. So understand that now. Mark chapter 7.
Okay.
Start verse 1.
The book of St. Mark, chapter 7 and verse 1.
Pay attention to these words. Go ahead.
Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashing hands, they found fault.
They found fault. But wait a minute. Is that in the law?
No.
Does the law say you got to wash your hands before you eat bread?
Where there's no law, there's no sin.
But they seeking to find fault. Fault in what?
It must be the Tammuz.
Talmud?
Yeah. That must be some expensive toilet paper or something.
Man, no, this is crazy. They got their own things that they're pushing.
So what did they lead the Bible, the scriptures here, and then they put the Tammuz right there beside it or something?
What they do now? Go to that picture. Go to that picture with all them. Yeah. I bet you they got the Talmud on that daggone table right there. They don't need, man. They don't be talking about the scriptures. They always talk about something that's in the Talmud or the rabbis said this. I asked the dude like where they get their instructions from. He said, "Oh, they got 70 elders." Elders of what?
See, it connects with their spirit. That's why they love
Yeah.
it. That's why they like that. It connects with their spirit.
70 elders of what? Those are not the elders of Israel. Those are elders of the Khazars. 100. Go ahead. They found fault, unwashing hands. Man, you don't the hell out of here. Verse 3.
The book of was it 7, right?
Yeah.
The book of St. Mark, chapter 7 and verse 3. For the Pharisees and all the Jews,
See, the Pharisees and all the Jews, go ahead.
except they wash their hands oft.
Often. It say oft.
Right.
Meaning often.
Often.
We're going to show you often. It's amazing. Go ahead.
Eat not, holding the tradition of the elders.
See, the tradition of the elders, not the law, the tradition of the elders. These are things that they've come up with over time. Oh, this is how we interpret this. So now we're doing this. That ain't what the scriptures say.
They must have COVID.
That's where they get it from.
Ain't it right?
Now, verse 4. I'm still laughing because Ezra hit them. Ezra keep asking them when they do circumcision why they put their lips on the baby's
Yeah.
flesh.
Peter Weeder.
Yeah. And nobody can give an answer.
Yeah. On his snorkel.
Crazy what you into.
Hmm?
Said crazy what you into.
Yeah.
Right. That stuff, yo, that ain't of the Lord.
Not at all. Oh.
That's why, man, because see, there was a lawsuit because some of them kids got herpes from them doing that, man. You ain't know that?
The babies,
The
man.
babies, yo. Bruh, you have, Ezra put up a post yesterday. You got this one pastor, this rabbi, Jewish rabbi had to step down because his husband got into some trouble.
I saw that. Oh, I didn't catch.
His husband. His husband. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's the same spirit on both sides. Christianity and Judaism. It's the same people.
Bruh.
And our people following both of them.
Oh my God. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, man. Nothing should surprise you nowadays, man. Verse 4.
Okay. The book of St. Mark, chapter 7 and verse 4. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not.
That's crazy.
And many other
Now,
things
remember
there
in John
be.
4, they went to get meat. They don't say nothing about them. They was at the well, but they don't say nothing about them washing their hands
Right.
when they came from getting meat. That's the scribes and the Pharisees, and that's their traditions.
Mm.
You notice, like, later on, Paul says Jewish fables. People in madness, man. It even go back to, like, when he's at Mars Hill, and they're talking about Greek philosophy.
Right.
Even, I got the book with Maimonides. Maimonides believed in that stuff. And he's from, like, the 12th century. And believed in Aristotle and all that crap, man. How you gonna mix that with the scriptures? You a sage. You supposed to be wise in the law. And these people that they think is wise in the Torah, be simple as hell, man.
Right.
Be simple. Go ahead.
Verse 4. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be,
Many other things. Go ahead.
which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups. And pots, brazen vessels, and of tables.
What's their obsession with washing stuff? But meanwhile, the inside of them ain't washed.
Exactly.
That's why Paul called that high priest a white of wall. Meaning the outside is clean, but the inside is dead men's
Filthy.
bones. Yeah.
Straight filth.
Hypocrites. Like he keeps saying.
Verse 5. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the traditions of the elders?
Of the elders.
They right there with the king and you asking him?
Yeah, why you ain't keeping the tradition of the elders, nigga? What's wrong?
You got the nerve. God. But eat bread with unwashing hands. He answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah
Oh, snap.
prophesied of you hypocrites,
Crushing them.
as it is written. There it is. Back in the Old Testament, people.
Right.
This people honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Verse 7, howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
See? That's why I've been saying it. They got their own little doctrines, which is the commandments of men that they following. They not pushing the commandments like they supposed to.
Right.
Not God's commandments.
Right.
Christ cutting them right here. It's already prophesied. All this stuff, it's so many prophecies of the Pharisees.
Right.
Greedy dogs.
Right. For you know what? For example, just in case y'all simple with it, what's a commandment of men today? How about Sunday church? That's a commandment of men. How about read one scripture, close the Bible, and give you a motivational speech for 2 hours?
Shucking and jiving.
But they'll make sure you get out of church to go watch 1 o'clock p.m. football. They're going to make sure of that because he betting on the game too. That's traditions of men. That's your Sunday church pastors. Right. That's your modern day. That's your modern day scribes and Pharisees.
Hey, Jeremiah said they using their tithe money for their bets.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Where we at? 10:14. Yeah, keep going.
Verse 8. For laying aside the commandments of God.
See, laying aside the commandments of God. That's why I'm telling you, we're battling these dudes for the last 2 weeks, and at some point I started going, wait a minute, there's a spirit among them, and I can see it. It's like let me search Christ, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this what y'all gonna understand. These wicked brothers. This is where the teachings of today come from amongst the Jewish people. It's from the reprobates, those that hated Christ. They taught this to the so-called white man. And that's what they pushing today and talking about they the people. This is your rabbinical, Talmudish Judaism. This is what they're in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do.
Verse 9.
Verse 9, and he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandments of God, that ye may keep your own tradition. For Moses said, honor thy father and thy mother.
No, you good. You good.
Okay.
For full well ye reject the commandment of God, so that you can keep your own tradition. So they pushing traditions of men. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to get back into the scholarship part and show you some things that they was doing. Whew. All right, shalom, y'all. We back. We're back, and we're about to get into the scholarship. So give me that. It should be hand washing. Mm-hmm. Hand washing in Judaism. Give me.
My bad.
Yeah, go ahead. Transition it over.
All right, shalom, Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath. Hand washing in Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
Jewish law and custom prescribe ritual hand washing in a number of situations. This practice is generally known by the Hebrew term, which literally means taking up of the hands. The Talmud used.
Whoa.
Excuse me.
The who?
The Talmud.
The Talmud. We don't use no damn Talmud. That ain't thus saith the Lord. That's why we read Deuteronomy 4 and 2. Ye shall not add unto the word.
That ain't God breathed.
Right.
The Talmud used the requirement of washing the hands in Leviticus 15, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
The person who is touched by one who has a discharge without rinsing his hands in water must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and they will be unclean till evening.
So what that goes into our, I remember Elder Ozias and Raphael used to call that the CDC.
Yeah.
Center for Disease Control. Yeah. So those laws is for that purpose. So they have taken that where if you're dealing with a person that has some kind of discharge, or a person that's sick, right, or you have issue in your flesh coming out of your flesh, you have to wash and be unclean to the even. But they have taken that and applied it to a whole bunch of other damn things and put it in their Talmud and their halakha. Go ahead.
As a hint for general hand washing law, using ashmata, a biblical hint rather than an explicit requirement.
So in this, where it says contents, we're not going to read all of them. We're not going to go into all of them. But you see it says occasions for hand washing, before eating bread, after eating bread. Where is that? Thematic interpretations. Before eating dipped fruit or vegetables, before worship, before priestly blessings, after sleeping.
Man, this don't sound like cigarette smoking. Think about it. Think about these habits right here.
Oh yeah, this associate. Yeah.
When they wake up.
Yeah.
They do it after they eat dinner. They do it when they smoke, when they take a poop. They do all of that. Man, that's don't crazy.
Other occasions, laws of washing, blessings said before washing, manner of pouring man. Go to the next. Go to halakha. This is what Christ is talking about. You got all these things that they're doing that don't make no damn sense. That's not in the laws of God, and they pushing that. And the guy got mad at Brother Ezra because he didn't have a Bible verse to show why they be putting their mouth on them little boys when they get circumcised. He was mad. He had an attitude. It's not in there, sir. You can't show it to us. This is what we're asking. You know what I'm saying? We're asking you not to fabricate stuff. Show us according to the word of the Lord what we supposed to do and what we not supposed to do. That other stuff is added. All right, halakha. Go ahead, read that.
All right, halakha is the collective body of Jewish religious laws, which is derived from the written and oral Torah. Halakha is based on biblical commandments.
They say it's based on them. Go ahead.
Subsequent Talmudic and rabbinic laws.
So these are laws that they have put in the Talmud that rabbis have come up with. Rabbis and priests and stuff from way back when, over time, have come up with all these things, and they have put it in the Talmud and the halakha, which is supposed to be the oral law. This stuff is madness. Excuse me. Go ahead.
And the customs and traditions which were compiled in the many books, such as the Shulchan
don't matter, man. So customs and traditions, and they done compiled them and put them in books. But the prophet Solomon said, beware of making the many books. Oh, man, you can't make this stuff up. It don't seem like we reading out the same book. Your base is supposed to be the Torah. You don't believe that the Messiah has come, so you keeping commandments. You're supposed to be keeping commandments, but instead you keeping everything else except the damn commandments. And talking about we ain't got no understanding. Go ahead.
Halakha is often translated as Jewish law.
Now, how can it be Jewish law? That's the commandments of God. This is Jewish law, man. Supposed to be the laws of God, but it's not. Instead, it's the Jewish law. Go ahead.
Although a more literal translation of it might be the way to behave or the way of walking. The word is derived from the root, which means to behave.
Right. Now let's go to occasions for hand washing. So they have come up with their own ideas on how to do things. That's why Christ is going in on them. You laying aside the commandments of God for your damn traditions.
All right.
You don't have to.
I got
so you see where it's red. You'll see they got parenthesis on what I want you to read. See, before eating bread, and then you'll see where it goes. You'll see the other little joint. Go ahead, read that.
Okay. All right. So before eating bread, halakha requires the hands to be washed before eating a meal containing bread. This washing was initially known as first waters, but is now commonly known simply as hand washing. This only applies to bread made from one of the 5
What's this nonsense come from, man? Go ahead.
Oh man, I guess if you're gluten free, it don't matter. This only applies to bread made from one of the 5 chief grains: wheat, cultivated barley, spelt, wild barley, and oats. The washing is performed by pouring water from a cup over each hand. The Gemara of the Babylonian Talmud contains homiletic descriptions of the importance of the practice, including an argument that washing before meals is so important that neglecting it is tantamount and unchastely, and risk divine punishment in the form of sudden destruction or poverty.
Well, it's not. Oh my God. Talmud, Babylonian Talmud, but there's 2 different Talmuds. Go ahead, man.
Rabbinic law requires that travelers go as far as 4 biblical miles to obtain water for washing prior to eating bread if there is a known water source there.
Yeah, this stuff is so ridiculous. We can't help but laugh, man. This is foolishness. Who came up with this stuff? Okay, after eating bread.
All right. After eating bread, rabbinic sources discuss a practice to wash hands after a meal before reciting. Yep, this practice is known as after waters. According to the Talmud, the washing is motivated by health concerns to remove the salt of Sodom.
What? Oh man. All right.
Excuse me. Which may have been served at the meal, as salt originating from the Sodom area allegedly causes blindness. Should it be on one's fingers and they happen to touch their eyes? The Talmud considered obligatory, and more important that washing before the meal.
All right. Before eating dipped fruit or vegetables. Oh my goodness.
All right, bear with me, y'all. Before eating dipped fruit or vegetables. Some sources speak of washing hands before eating a piece of food which has been dipped in a liquid, water, honey, oil, etc., which then clings to that piece, which the one exception of fruits, seeing that they do not require hand washing, while the requires the washing of hands prior to eating fruits that are merely damp with one of the 7 liquids.
Maimonides.
Thank you. Maimonides does not mention this stringency in his Torah.
Yeah, his Mishnah Torah. Yeah, drop down. Hold on. Before worship, I'm just going to read that. A person should wash both hands before prayer. I don't see the significance in that. Does not make any sense.
Not unless they thinking about the Levites at that time, maybe.
That's before you go to do the work in the temple.
Right.
This is just talking about prayer. Bro, so when I wake up in the morning, I got to go and wash my hands before I make my prayer.
You gotta show up before the Lord clean, my brother.
Mm-hmm. Got to put on a white tee, too.
Yeah.
All right, just read the highlighted parts, man. Just the highlighted parts. This stuff is madness, y'all.
Before the priestly blessing, Judaism traces this requirement to Exodus 30 and 19.
That's before you go to the temple. I mean, when you go to do the work of the priests and the Levites, when they go to do the work of the tabernacle, they have to go to that laver of brass and wash before they go towards that to the altar or to the tabernacle of the Lord. They have to wash. They've turned these into other things. That's specific. That's specific. This is why Christ got baptized. And people would you had to be cleansed first with water. So it was signifying that they were being cleansed.
Right.
That's why John was doing it. He was a Levite. After sleeping. Damn. I gotta wake up and go and get water and wash my hands.
Yeah.
After sleeping, a person who slept is required to wash upon arising. Reasons given for this washing vary. To remove an evil spirit from one's fingers.
What?
Because the spirit only mess with your fingers.
Those spirit fingers.
Oh my goodness.
Spirit fingers. That's
An
what
evil spirit from one's fingers.
Tell you what, Christ got a finger for y'all. Back.
Hope is watching.
Yeah, you ready for that one?
All right, let's go to Pharisees. So I hope y'all are following with us. We're showing you the spirit that's on them, the weird stuff that they're doing, but they're not pushing God's law the way they supposed to. So you got the people is in error, all kinds of things. Because of their wickedness, Israel is falling. Jerusalem is falling. They're supposed to be doing justice and judgment in Jerusalem, but they keeping their traditions. Go ahead. Definition of Pharisees.
All right, Pharisee, member of a Jewish religious party that flourished in Palestine during the latter part of the Second Temple, period 515 BCE to 70 CE. The Pharisees' instance on the binding force of oral tradition.
See that? Insistence on the binding force of oral tradition, the unwritten Torah, traditions of men. Go ahead.
remains a basic tenet of Jewish theological thought. When the Mishnah, the first constituent part of the Talmud, was compiled about 200 CE, it incorporated the teachings of the Pharisees on Jewish law.
Right. So this is their ideals. They have it written down. The Mishnah and the Talmud. That's what's being used today. Go ahead.
The Pharisees emerged as a distinct group shortly after the Maccabean revolt.
That's what I was saying earlier. Go ahead.
About 165 to 160 BCE. They were, it is generally believed, spiritual descendants of the Hasidians. The Pharisees emerged as a party of laymen and scribes in contradiction to the Sadducees, the party of high priesthood that had traditionally provided the sole leadership of the Jewish people. The basic difference that led to the split between the Pharisees and Sadducees lay in their respective attitudes toward the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, and the problem of finding in it answers to questions and basis for decisions about contemporary legal and religious matters, arising under circumstances far different from those of the time of Moses.
So they was trying to use the laws to show how, or they were debating on how the laws should work at that time period. I don't see why it would be so hard. Like, because things are way more complicated in society today, but the laws still reign supreme. Now,
These are Democrats and Republicans.
yeah, among Israel. Now, Sadducees.
All right. The Sadducees were a socio-religious sect of Jewish people who were active in Judea during the Second Temple period, from the 2nd century BCE through the destruction of the temple in 70 CE. The Sadducees are often compared other contemporaneous sects, including the Pharisees and the Essenes. Josephus, writing at the end of the 1st century CE, associates the sect with the upper social and economic echelon of Judean society.
Right there. So the Sadducees were the upper echelon. The Sadducees were pretty much the high priests, and those are the priesthood. There was others with them, but it was mainly the priests and the priesthood, the Levites. Go ahead.
As a whole, they fulfilled various political, social, and religious roles, including maintaining the temple in Jerusalem. The group became extinct sometime after the destruction of Herod's temple in Jerusalem in 70 CE.
All right, go to the second one. Roll of the temple. Give me Acts 22 or 21, and we're gonna read into 22. But go ahead with roll of the temple. Let's go with. Just read where it says it was.
I got you. The role of the temple. It was also during this time that the high priesthood of Israel, often referred to as the Sadducees, although not all Sadducees were priests, was developing a reputation for corruption. Questions about the legitimacy of the Second Temple and its Sadduic leadership freely circulated within Judean society. Sects began to form during the Maccabean reign. The temple in Jerusalem was the formal center of political and governmental leadership in ancient Israel, although its power was often contested and disputed by fringe groups.
Okay, now where's the highlighted stuff in religious?
Religious?
Yeah, roll of the Sadducees.
All right, religious.
23.
The priests were responsible for performing sacrifices at the temple, the primary method of worship in ancient Israel. This included presiding over sacrifices during the 3 festivals of pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Their religious beliefs and social status were mutually reinforcing, as the priesthood often represented the highest class in Judean society.
Right.
However, Sadducees and the priests were not completely synonymous. Cohen points out that not all priests, high priests, and aristocrats were Sadducees. Many were Pharisees, and many were not members of any group at all.
Right. So mainly the Sadducees would represent the priesthood in the upper echelon, and your Pharisees would be like they're supposed to be the experts in the law, like Paul. And Paul was a Pharisee. He was brought up underneath Gamaliel. But the Pharisees was the ones coming up with these doctrines, these traditions of men. And we're going to show you another difference, just another difference that they had between them. Go to Acts chapter 23. Start at verse 1. It's funny.
The book of Acts, chapter 23 and verse 1. And Paul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day.
Mm-hmm.
And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth.
So he told him to smack him in the mouth for speaking. Sadducee.
Well,
Go ahead.
That's how people, though.
Yeah.
Come on, smacking you. Good. Go. Verse 3. Then said Paul unto him, God shall smite thee, thou whited wall.
See, Paul took a shot at him, meaning you clean on the outside, but you dirty inside, you filthy. Go ahead.
For sittest thou to judge me after the law, and commanded me to be smitten contrary to the law?
Right, because you're supposed to examine the matter first.
Right.
Go
Verse
ahead.
4. And they that stood by said, Revilest thou God's high priest?
So they got the nerve to go to the law on him, to go to Exodus 23.
Hiding behind their garment.
No, but this is, you should not revile the gods.
Right.
That's what he pulling on them.
Mm.
But it's okay for you to tell him to get smacked in the mouth.
Right.
Damn hypocrites. Go ahead.
Then said Paul, I wish not, brethren, that he was the high priest.
Mm-hmm.
For it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the ruler of thy people.
Right. I mean, Exodus 22 and 28, not 23 and 28. That's where it come from. Okay. You ain't supposed to revile the gods, the ruler of thy people. Go ahead.
But when Paul perceived that one part was Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am called in question.
So the Sadducees did not believe in the spirit and the resurrection of the dead. So Paul turned them one against another. You know how you can do, because like when Christians want to battle you and all you got to do is say, can you explain the Trinity? And then all of them will start arguing amongst each other. It's amazing. Go ahead. So he turned them against each other because they got different beliefs. Like that's something that they really split on. The Sadducees do not believe in the spirit and resurrection. Go ahead. That's why he said that.
Verse
The
7.
hope and resurrection of the dead. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided.
See?
For
He
the
turned them against each other. Go ahead.
For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both.
Right. So, yeah. So, you see, just going different places, you can see how things are playing out. The spirit that's on people. It's all here. Certain things, though, they don't bring out. But now, let's get back into the spirit of these Pharisees. Let's go to Luke 13.
When I look at this too, I mean, just for me, I can see why the Most High would choose Paul, man. Paul was out there making it happen according to his understanding of the law.
And Paul was raised up with these dudes.
Right.
And taught.
Right.
So he know what they know,
Right.
but he's got the understanding of Christ. So just like you have the Christians that when they look at Philippians, they go, see, he counted all of that dung for Christ. Yeah, because you have to understand Christ and follow Christ to get the kingdom. You can't go by what these dudes was doing. You'll never make it. But they can't see that. He's not saying that you don't have to be Israel, that you don't have to keep law. They won't keep the damn commandments, man. It's people. And Christianity, man, is trash. It is trash at the highest level. There's no understanding in it.
Right.
None.
Right.
Luke 13. You're going to like this. We'll start at verse 10.
The book of St. Luke, chapter 13 and verse 10. And he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath.
No, it was Sunday.
No, it was the seventh day, the Lord's day, the Sabbath.
Go ahead.
Verse 11. And behold, there was a woman which had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bowed together, and could in no wise lift up herself.
Yeah, so she was bent over. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And when Jesus saw her, he called her to him, and said unto her, Woman, thou art loosed from thine infirmity.
Did he say, now you can teach? You can be a pastor? They make me sick, man.
Thou art not bound.
They make me sick with that BS, man. It has nothing to do with a woman teaching. She had a crook back. And he freed her from that madness, man.
Right.
What does that got to do with women being pastors and teach? Man, they make me... Go ahead, bro.
The book of St. Luke, chapter 13 and verse 13. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and glorified God. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation.
The ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation. He had hatred. Go ahead.
Because that Jesus had healed on the Sabbath day, and said unto the people, There are 6 days in which men ought to work.
How the hell does that work?
By doing a great deed for your people.
That ain't servile work.
Not at all.
Go ahead.
In them, therefore, come and be healed, and not on the Sabbath day.
So what kind of spirit is on you? You don't want... He heals your sister that's got a crook back, and now she can stand up straight. What spirit is on you to have a problem with that? Go ahead, man. You see it today, though. You see it today. Brothers be talking about other camps. Oh, yeah, them niggas this and they that. Let them be. Let them do what the Lord got them doing. It's that simple.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 15. The Lord then answered him and said, Thou hypocrite.
That's the common theme dealing with them. Thou hypocrite. You supposed to be for the people. You supposed to be teaching the people. You supposed to be healing the people. By you teaching them, they supposed to be healed. Go ahead.
Doeth not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox or his ass from the stall, and lead him away to watering?
Mm-hmm.
And ought not this woman,
Mm-hmm.
being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan hath bound, lo, these 18 years, be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath day?
Man, he killed him with that joint right there. What the hell is wrong with you that you got a problem with your sister being healed
Right.
on the Sabbath day?
And they don't even see the significance. He don't even see the significance of what he said. 6 days. You are bound in captivity to somebody's clock. Why you want to allow this woman to be loosed on that Sabbath day? Just like you want to be loosed.
Because they looking to find fault. They're looking to find fault with Christ. That's that envy. That's that secret hatred.
He cut himself for real.
Matter of fact, jump to watch what Christ said to him. Jump to verse 28. Just verse 28.
Okay. The book of St. Luke, chapter 13 and verse 28.
Talking to these Pharisees. Go ahead.
There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth when ye shall see Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all the prophets in the kingdom of God, and you yourselves thrust out.
Oh my goodness. Chapter 14 and verse 1. These people did not have our best interest at heart.
They only was out for themselves.
Yep,
man.
they served their own belly, wanted to be seen of men, came up with their own doctrines, and they're pushing the traditions of men and not healing our people. That's how they're making our people to be meat for the other nations, because you're not correcting them of their sins. And the Lord going to do what he said he going to do. If he said, if you keep my commandments, this will happen. If you don't, this will happen.
So when you think about it, the men are, their first congregation is their household before they had a congregation of church. So you can imagine if they are like that at the church, they just like that at home, and their family is the same way. Their family is the same way. I'm gonna look out for me and mine. What about your people?
As is the judge,
Damn.
so are the people. 14 and 1. Luke chapter 14 and verse 1.
The book of St. Luke, chapter 14 and verse 1. And it came to pass, as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath day, that they watched him. And behold.
So, whoa. They what?
Man, you remember that Rockwell song?
We feel like they watching them, man.
Yes, sir.
They evil.
Oh.
Go ahead.
The book of St. Luke, chapter 14 and verse 2. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy. And Jesus answering spake unto the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, It is lawful to heal on the Sabbath day.
Yeah, so he just done cut him in the chapter before. Now he's saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? Go ahead.
Verse 4. And they held their peace.
They held their peace. Go ahead.
And he took him and healed him and let him go. And answered them, saying, Which one of you shall have an ass or an ox fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day?
Right, that even go back to the law. That go back to Exodus 23 and like 4 and 5.
Verse 6. And they could not answer him again to these things.
But these supposed to be the experts in the law.
Right.
He was crushing them. And what was he crushing them with? The commandments.
Verse 7.
No, you good.
That's
you
it.
good.
All right.
Now, chapter 18. There is so much stuff in here. We will be hours going over the stuff, the way he dealt with them. Chapter 18 and verse 9.
The book of St. Luke, chapter 18 and verse 9. And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others.
Damn, see that? So see all these little intricate things. You see how that they were operating and what type of spirit they had in them. They trusted in themselves.
I guess this
That they were righteous and despised others.
So
these your leaders.
This is what they call it. I guess they God body.
Watch this. Go ahead. Verse 10.
Verse 10. 2 men went up into the temple to pray. The one a Pharisee and the other a publican.
Now they hated the publicans.
Yeah.
So publican was like he was a tax collector.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Verse 11. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself. God, thank thee that I am not as other men are, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven,
Because he was ashamed. Go ahead.
but smote upon his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other.
Because he was humble.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was a sinner, he was humble. But this wicked Pharisee, like you keep hearing about them, they not keeping the commandments.
Right.
But he think because of the position he in that he's special.
Mm.
When you better keep the damn commandments. You better love your brother and sister. But he looking down upon them. You can't do that. You only as good as the worst people in your nation.
You as bad as the worst enemy to your nation, because he does the same thing. He looks down on his on our people.
Yeah.
So you worse than he is, because you amongst us.
But you supposed to be like Christ was. He was a humble servant. He came from his position down here to be a humble servant
Think about
and live like us and give us an example. What example are these Pharisees giving? They're perfect examples of what we shouldn't be.
Right.
Was that verse 14?
I'm gonna finish it off.
Okay.
For everyone that exalteth himself shall be abased,
Mm-hmm.
and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted.
Shall be exalted.
Right.
Oh my goodness, that's so powerful. John chapter 9 now. We ain't much longer, y'all. We don't have much longer. But see the spirit that's on them, and then the spirit that's on Christ and the disciples. And the disciples is learning from Christ.
Man.
John 9:34.
The book of St. John, chapter 9 and verse 34.
Now this the blind man that Christ healed. Go ahead.
They answered and said unto him, Thou wast altogether born in sins, and dost thou teach us? And they cast him out.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus heard that they had cast him out. And when he had found him, he said unto him, Dost thou believe on the Son of God?
Right, go ahead.
He answered and said, Who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him?
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus said unto him, Thou hast both seen him, and it is he that talketh with thee.
Right, he's saying it's me. Go ahead.
And he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus said, For judgment I am come unto this world,
Right,
that they which see not might see.
right. That the blind might see. Now this is spiritual.
Right,
It's not just because it's physical with him,
right.
but it's also spiritual, so that the blind might see. Go ahead.
And that they which see might be made blind.
So who is supposed to be able to see?
Our leaders.
Yes, the scribes and Pharisees. They supposed to be the leaders. They're the one. They're the seers. They're supposed to see, and then they supposed to teach the people. Go ahead.
And some of the Pharisees which were with him heard these words and said unto him, Are we blind also?
Right. They're like, wait a minute. So are we blind? Go ahead.
Jesus said unto them, If ye were blind, ye should have no sin.
Right. So if you were blind, you should have no sin, because you should be taught by me. I should open your eyes if you was blind. Go ahead.
But now ye say, We see, therefore your sin remaineth.
Right. By saying we see, you saying you got the understanding, you got the knowledge. You don't need it from Christ. But because you say that, you blind.
Right.
And you're going to remain blind. Therefore, your sin remaineth. Because he came to show you your sin. But you don't believe you in sin.
Right.
You got all the understanding. Isaiah 56 and 10. And just go right back to the Pharisees and your modern day pastors and our brothers and sisters that's in this rabbinical Judaism crap.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 56 and 10. His watchmen.
Who are the watchmen? It's supposed to be the scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, your priests and them.
Right, leadership.
Yep, go ahead.
His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs.
So you know, people in Judaism think that, the rabbis got the knowledge. But the Old Testament is telling you that they don't. You can't get around this. They don't have the understanding.
And let's go simple with it. They're called rabbis, right? Are we supposed to even call them rabbis?
No.
That's simple right there. We ain't supposed to call these dudes rabbis, bro.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We're going to read it.
Good God.
Go ahead.
They cannot bark sleeping.
That's why it said Christ taught as one with understanding and not like a scribe.
Right.
Because they ain't got no understanding.
Right.
Go ahead.
Lying down, loving to slumber.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yea, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. And they are shepherds that cannot understand.
That cannot understand, but they got their own Mishnah and Talmud where they done wrote all this stuff down. And it don't line up with the scriptures. You adding stupid, retarded stuff to the scriptures. You adding these doctrines. You got, when you wake up, you got to wash your hands.
You know what this reminds me of? This is a perfect example of Dumb and Dumber.
You ain't joking.
Dumb, they got taught by the reprobates. And they went even dumber with it.
Right.
God. Man, art imitates life.
Yeah, they're reprobates.
Right.
Because they didn't believe on Christ. They wanted Christ dead. They wanted him put away. Get that Holy One out from among us. And then afterwards, these same people, you hear about them in Galatians and Acts and other books. They coming, spying out the liberty that you have in Christ. You ain't got to sacrifice animals no more. Trying to turn you back into that. We're going to go to Matthew 23.
All for the show.
Right after this. Go ahead.
I'll start back at verse 11. Yea, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. And they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way.
Their own way.
Every one for his gain from his quarter.
But they supposed to be the learned men. These people don't know nothing. They're giving a sacrifice of fools. You can drop that. We're going to Matthew 23. They're giving a sacrifice of fools. And these so-called rabbis today, they don't know nothing. That's why they studying words. They don't have the spirit of the Lord. It's impossible for them to have it. They're not the people to begin with. Damn synagogue of Satan. Start at verse 1. We're going to skip around a little bit.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 23, and verse 1.
Hours.
Then spake Jesus to the multitude and his disciples,
Come on.
saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
Right, they sit in Moses' seat. They supposed to be instructing you on the law, doing judgments and all that stuff. Go ahead.
All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works.
Yeah, because their works is after the Mishnah and the Talmud, the traditions of the elders.
Right.
Go ahead.
For they say and do not.
Come on.
For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves would not move them with one of their fingers.
Now, as we read down, all of these things that have happened before, you're going to see them brought up again. Go ahead.
But all their works they do to be seen of men.
To be seen of men. We read that before, right? Go ahead.
They make broad their phylacteries.
The little stupid things they put on their head.
And enlarge the borders of their garments.
Their fringes, made big fringes.
And love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues.
And then we read where they were in the synagogues and they give these long prayers and they give alms in front of everybody, and they fasting so people can see them. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Yeah, after they wash their hands.
And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men,
Rabbi, like you were saying.
Right.
Go ahead.
But be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren.
Right, all ye are brethren.
Right.
And you supposed to treat each other as such. Not like their hierarchy. Thinking they better than everybody else.
Verse 9, and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ.
Go ahead.
Verse 11, but he that is greatest among you shall be your servant.
Shall be your servant. A leader is supposed to be a servant. You're serving the people. And that's a great thing. Verse 13.
Verse 13, but woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites!
Hypocrites. Go
For
ahead.
ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men.
How? Because they not teaching the righteous commandments of God. They teaching their own damn traditions. This crap that they come up with. You gonna go to Christ and tell them how come your disciples ain't keeping the traditions of the elders. You give a damn about the elders. They're not walking according to the Lord.
Right.
Go ahead.
For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in.
Damn.
Verse
So
14.
you don't go in, they're not going in, and then they keeping others from going in. Give me everything that was said before. Keep going. Everything that was said before is he going in on them again. He like bringing all of them together in this one chapter.
The book of St. Matthew, chapter 23 and verse 14. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation.
Damn, go ahead.
Verse 15. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you compass sea and land to make one proselyte.
One proselyte, somebody that's serving another God, and you convert them back to keeping the commandments, but you ain't teaching them to keep the damn commandments. You teach them to keep the traditions of men.
Right.
So you trying them, keep going. It's going to say it.
And when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves.
You destroy him. You destroy him. Go ahead.
Verse 16. Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor.
Come on.
Verse 17. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold?
The temple.
And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. Ye fools and blind.
Hey, Christ said don't swear, period.
Right. Verse 19. Ye fools and blind. For whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift? Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar, sweareth by it, and by all things thereon.
Verse 23.
Verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithe of mint and anise, and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone.
So see, Christ he pointing out things that they're doing wrong.
Man, he getting in them.
Yeah.
Bro. They not liking that.
Oh no.
He blasting them in the open.
No, he got
They
he got to die.
They not liking
He's too
that.
righteous.
Yeah.
He's too righteous. Verse 25.
Verse 25. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of exhortation and excess. Extortion and excess.
Extortion.
That's an exhortation. Great God.
Extortion
and excess.
Go ahead.
Verse 26. Thou blind Pharisee, Cleanse first that which is within the cup.
Cause they want to keep washing their hands. What about the inner you?
Right.
Ain't the innards of the lamb supposed to be washed? His innards.
Or that Matthew 7. You gotta clean what's in your eye first before you try to correct someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is that washing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be washed with the water of the word, but they ain't want to hear it.
They ain't want to hear it.
Your innards.
Verse 26. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also.
Verse 27. Damn.
Verse 27. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres.
This is why Paul called the priest a whited wall.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness.
Damn. Now, verse 33, last one.
Verse 33. Ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell?
Damn, call them serpents, vipers. Understand these were evil men. They in a position where they get the greater damnation. They supposed to be teaching and leading the people, but instead they're more concerned with themselves.
I'm almost thinking the example that was given in the wilderness when the people were bitten by serpents until Christ had to be lifted up.
But with that, we're done with that with Matthew 23. We're going to go into scholarship. I want you to read one verse because it keeps calling them serpents, right?
Right.
Deuteronomy 32. Verse 32 and 33, and then get the mic back to Jeremiah and Yisrael. That's why I keep calling them serpents and vipers.
32, 33.
Mm-hmm.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 33. Their wine is the poison of dragons and the cruel venom of asps.
So that wine is doctrine.
Their doctrine, right.
So what comes out of them and going to the other people is poison. It's poison, man. All right, get it mic back to Jeremiah. We're almost done, y'all. We're going to hit you with a little bit of scholarship, and then we're going to close out. So you have the wicked Pharisees and these doctrines that they've come up with over time, this retarded stuff that we read earlier, and I'm sure there's many, many other things, and they were pushing this instead of God's commandments. And so what they did, when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD, and Israel wasn't allowed to come back there, then that's what began the rabbinical age, rabbinical, Talmudish Judaism. The rabbis started teaching. Everything became rabbinical. So, and then this is what was taught to the so-called Jewish people today. So this book is called the Kuzari. This little thing here. And read that out of there.
All right. The Kuzari. This is page 665. From that time onwards, the Almighty God aided him, added courage to his might, and strengthened his power. The king circumcised himself, and his servants, his ministers, and his entire nation followed.
So this is talking about the conversion of the Khazars under King Bulan. This is the story. Go ahead.
He then sent for Jewish sages who explained the Torah to him and presented all the commandments to him. To this day, we adhere to the honorable and true religion. May the name of the Holy One, blessed is he, be blessed, and may his memory be exalted forever. From the day our ancestors entered under the wings of the divine presence, the God of Israel humbled all their enemies before them and subjugated all the nations and peoples of different tongues who surrounded them.
Right. So they sent for Jewish sages. Where from? Babylon. Teaching them the Torah and the Babylonian Talmud and their rabbinical Judaism. All that stuff for them wearing black and big hats and the yarmulke and all that stuff is not in the Bible. That stuff is Babylonian. It's a bunch of rabbinical crap. It's not thus saith the Lord. You will not learn how to get the kingdom with that stuff right there. Yeah, that joint. Go to that joint. I don't know what page that is, but same book, the Kuzari.
You want me to start after King Bulan, right there in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
After King Bulan decided to embrace Judaism, members of the Khazar tribe adopted the religion in large numbers.
See, they adopted the religion. We've been over this before. Go ahead.
The Khazars followed the rabbinical form of Judaism.
See that? Rabbinical form of Judaism. Go ahead.
Rather than the beliefs of the
Karaite sect.
Karaite sect.
So the Karaite sect, they believed in only the Torah. So they learned from the rabbinical Talmudic Judaism. Go ahead.
King Obadiah.
How you gonna you an Edomite and you gonna name yourself Obadiah? Mm-hmm.
Bulan's successor to the throne built synagogues and yeshivos, and Jewish teachers were invited to Khazari to teach Torah and Talmud.
To teach the Torah and Talmud. Go ahead.
With the increasing number of Khazars converting to Judaism, Jewish traditions became strengthened in the Khazar kingdom.
Right, that's it right there. Now go to the next one. So they learned rabbinical Judaism, all this weird stuff. Christ going the whole time. Christ in his ministry, he going in on the scribes and Pharisees, and then they got the Mishnah and Talmud, and then after the temple's destroyed, they're teaching rabbinical Talmudic Judaism, and then they taught this to Amalek, and then that's what they're pushing today. And you have the nerve to have our people following them around, believing that they're the holy people, and believing in this crap that they're teaching. But this is part of the correspondence out of the same book, the Kuzari, telling where these people originally came from. Go ahead, read that.
Our ancestors have told us that when you first settled there, the name of the land was called Mount Seir.
Where's Mount Seir? That's Genesis 36. That's the land of Esau.
But my master realizes that Mount Seir is quite far from the place where he actually resides.
Mm-hmm.
Our elders explain that Mount Seir is where your ancestors originally lived.
That's the Edomites. The Edomites. We didn't write this book. We did not write the Kuzari. Go ahead, finish that out.
But that harsh decrees transpired, and the people went from one adversity to another until they finally settled in the land which they currently inhabit, Khazari.
Right, now let's go to the last one, which is this book, The Jews of Khazaria.
Start at the top.
All the highlighted stuff.
Gotcha. Also noteworthy in the reply is Joseph's statement that King Obadiah, Bulan's successor, invited Jewish sages from many lands to come to Khazaria in order to explain the meaning of the Torah, Talmud, Mishnah, and prayers.
See that? All that stuff together. The Torah, Talmud, Mishnah, and prayers.
After those days, there arose from the sons of his, Bulan's, sons a king named Obadiah. He was an upright and just man. He reorganized the kingdom and established the Jewish religion. properly and correctly.
Properly and correctly. Yeah, that's the Jewish religion. That ain't thus saith the Lord. Come on.
He built synagogues and schools, brought in many Israelite sages, and honored them with silver and gold, and they explained to him the 24 books, the Torah, Mishnah, Talmud, and the order of prayers established by the Kazans.
Right. So that's it for that. So this put up the picture of that little old. Oh no! Give me that rabbinical. Yeah, put him up first. Put him up first. So that brings us to the day. You got this guy and his people, and they're teaching these weird doctrines. I mean, it's weird. I'm not even going to attempt to read the Talmud. I heard there's some terrible, wicked things in there, especially said about Christ and Mary. I don't want to read it. But that's what these people are pushing today. That little guy right there. Now give me that rabbinical Judaism. Yeah, read that.
Rabbinic Judaism. Rabbinic Judaism, the normative form of Judaism that developed after the fall of the Temple of Jerusalem, 70 AD, originating in the work of the Pharisaic rabbis.
See? The Pharisaic rabbis.
It was based on the legal and commentative literature in the Talmud, and it set up a mode of worship and a life discipline that were to be practiced by Jews worldwide down to modern times.
So that thing is pushed in the earth today. Yeah, get back to him. And so when you look at what the European, German, Russian, Ukrainian Jews have done, they've gone around the world looking for us. They went into Africa, they found the Limba and other tribes, and they pushed Judaism on them. Got them with the little 5-pointed star or whatever, however. They got that star on them. They got yarmulkes on them, prayer shawls, and all that stuff. This is what we're going to close out with tonight. Let's go to 2 Corinthians. Perfect scripture. 2 Corinthians 5. You know, we deal with Christianity a lot. But it was a need to show we got brothers and sisters that believe in this madness. It's strange. Oh, I'm in 1 Corinthians. Second Corinthians 6.
Okay.
Start at 14. This how we closing out tonight, y'all.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 14. Be ye not equally yoked together with unbelievers.
Well, it don't matter if they're in Christianity or if they're in this Judaism crowd.
Right.
Go ahead.
For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness?
Neither one is pushing righteousness. Neither one. We're in the middle. You got madness on one end and madness on the other end. We're in the middle. We're the ones that believe on Christ and keep the commandments. Go ahead.
And what communion hath light with darkness?
Right.
And what concord hath Christ with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel?
Go ahead.
And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols?
Come on.
For ye are the temple of the living God.
You are the temple of the living God. And you got these people in Judaism keep talking about a third temple. You are the temple of God. That always represented you. What's in the temple is supposed to be in you. Go ahead.
As God hath said, I will dwell in them.
See, I will dwell in them. Go ahead.
and walk in them,
Mm-hmm.
and I will be their God, and they shall be my people.
Now, who did he say that to? He said that to the children of Israel
That's
over
it.
and over again.
That's it.
Come on.
Verse 17, wherefore come out from among them.
Come out from among them. Now, you ain't even got to mention the other nations because you ain't supposed to be dealing with them like that anyway.
Right.
But our people that's in the madness, that's living like Gentiles. Go ahead.
And be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing.
Because they touching the unclean thing. They following our oppressors. They following our God-given enemy. God sent those people against us, and they following them. In Christianity and in Judaism. Come on.
And I will receive you.
Right.
And
you don't touch the unclean thing, he going to receive you. Go ahead.
And will be a father unto you, and ye shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Lord Almighty.
So if you do that, then you're going to be his sons and daughters. Hold on, one last John. Zechariah 13 and 9, I believe. What is it, 9 and 13? No. Zechariah 13 and 9.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 13 and verse 9. And I will bring the third part through the fire,
Mm-hmm.
and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people.
Right.
And they shall say, the Lord is my God.
Now that's Israel. Understand and believe that. All right. So that's been tonight's class. Describes the Pharisees and today's rabbis. We want to give all praises to the Most High in Christ for giving us the ability to bring this stuff out to you and to be able to show you, look at things through the Spirit that's behind the things that's going on. We're in a great time, but you better be girded up. We don't know what we're going to go through. We know it's going to be bad.
Right. We have an idea.
Right.
The scriptures give us an idea, but to actually be in those shoes, so to speak, it's going to be a whole different experience, bro.
Let's send up the prayers, man.
Right.
Send up the prayers.
That you can gird up your loins in righteousness. In righteousness. Gotta be. Can't be no other way. It's not carnal right now. It's not carnal. It's a spiritual warfare right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Eventually it's going to turn carnal. It's going to be real ugly.
All right, so that's a nice class. I am Brother Jacob, and to my left,
I'm Brother Joab
and our reader,
/ DJ on the ones and twos.
yeah,
Brother Jeremiah.
yeah, Brother Jeremiah. With that, y'all, we say have a happy Sabbath and shalom.